It was my freshman year in high school, and it was just another normal day of school. As I was walking to my third hour, the principal over the PA said there was an emergency and that we were doing an immediate lockdown. I started panicking a bit because it was still kind of a far walk to my next class. And I was late, so I was like the only one in the hallway. I almost ran into the bathroom, but I figured going to the library that was only a few extra steps down the hall would be a safer bet that I was willing to risk. This was the beginning of the year, so there was no way for me to know if this was a real lockdown or just a drill. But usually we do practice drills before the real thing, and they usually warn us ahead of time, so I had this really bad feeling. If I were to go to the bathroom, I would have most likely been alone, and anyone could have walked in at any time. So if there was someone dangerous lurking around, the only thing stopping them from getting to me would have been the stall door. I was hoping the library door wouldn't be locked when I got there, and that either a full class or at least one person would be there. Thankfully it wasn't locked, but there was no one there. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared. I took my phone out and looked at the weather app to see if the lockdown could have been something weather related, but it wasn't. I sat there for a while, just waiting for the PA to go off and for the principal to say that the drill was over. All of a sudden, I heard footsteps from down the hall moving slowly towards my direction. I heard the library door open, and that was when my stomach started turning. I was trembling with anxiety, but I couldn't help but peek through the books from behind the shelf where I was hiding at. It was this creepy looking man in his late 40s, I would say. He quickly began searching the whole area. It turns out he was on drugs, and he was a parent of a kid that went to school here. I guess his son had been getting bullied by these same kids for years, and apparently him and his family had made endless complaints, but the district had never done anything about it. The only thing they seemed to do was give the kids multiple warnings. And of course, with the kid tattling on the kids who were bullying him, it made the bullying way worse. Apparently to the point where the kid tried to commit suicide multiple times. As soon as I saw this guy though, I knew something was wrong. Who was this random man? And was he armed with weapons? What was he doing? What does he want? Am I going to get hurt? These were all the things running in my head. I knew it was something bad because no one was supposed to be walking around during a lockdown. I didn't know at the time why he was there, but I could tell at that point that the lockdown was real, even just by the way he was walking around, and even by the way he looked. Plus I've never seen him before, which is also a red flag because I know almost every teacher here, and he didn't look like a teacher at all. I could just tell he was up to no good. And that he was the reason we were having a lockdown. Luckily he didn't see me, and he left the library after looking around for only a minute or two. The police caught him only a few minutes later. Apparently he was caught with a dagger and some sort of pills. Now I don't know if this part is true, but it was said that he told the police he was coming after those kids who had been bullying his son for all these years. I guess he had enough of his kid being bullied, but man, that is not the right way to go about something like that. I feel bad for the kid who has been getting bullied all these years, but I'm glad that man got caught before something horrible happened. Someone that would do something as crazy as that would be very unpredictable, I'm sure. And they could be capable of just about anything. So I'm just glad he didn't see me in that library. School is supposed to be somewhere you feel safe. That was definitely the most intense and scariest thing that has ever happened to me in my life. One day when I was at school, I think it was my sophomore year, I was sitting in class when my friend Josh texted me and asked if I wanted to hang out after school. I said yes, and that I just had to talk to my mom first. So the plan was we were just going to hang out at the nearby park until our other friend Carson got out of football practice. And then we were all going to walk to a nearby restaurant downtown area, less than a mile from the park. Josh and I were bored and goofing off at the park while we were waiting for Carson to get done with practice. We started playing basketball, just shooting around and warming ourselves up, because we were about to play a one-on-one game versus each other. All of a sudden, this random older man started walking towards us. This guy was probably like 30 years old or so, and immediately I was wondering in my head what he was wanting, because we were only 15 and he was a stranger. So of course, initially I was a little creeped out and on edge with my guard up. He started talking to us, and he said that he used to be a basketball coach for a high school team just a few cities away from us. He asked us what we were doing, and I told him we were about to play a game while we wait for our friend. He wasn't being weird at first. He kind of just started shooting with us and cracking jokes. Okay, he's not too bad, I thought. He was just a random dad who was probably bored. Nothing bad. Only a short while after, my friend had to leave because his mom called him, and apparently he was in trouble for something that happened at school, and apparently he wasn't even supposed to be hanging out with me anyways. So he left. It was just me and this guy. He told me his name was Matthew, but I later found out that it wasn't true. I started getting anxious when my friend left. Almost right after he left, Matthew asked me a strange question. Hey, what do you say we go to my house? You and my son would get along. I have a basketball hoop and we can all play. I'm just parked right over there, and I live a few minutes down the road, he said. And I kid you not, he pointed at this creepy looking old white van. Yes, he really had an old creeper van. It was in this moment exactly that I knew for a fact that something was seriously wrong. I told him no and maybe some other time because I was waiting for my friend. He insisted. Why don't you just hang out with him some other time? Seriously, you remind me so much of my son and he really needs cool friends like you, he said. He then let out this very weird laugh and gave me the creepiest smile ever. I told him no. I started running away and screaming for help. It drew a lot of attention and some adults quickly rushed over to me. It was a family that was on a picnic with their 2 young children that were way younger than I was. The guy, who told me his name was Matthew, ran off to his car and sped away quickly before they could get a good look at his license plate. They potentially saved my life, and I am forever thankful for that. Luckily, I wasn't naive, and also that there were people around. Good people that helped me. The lady's husband whom I was with called the police when I told them what happened, and the lady was helping me calm down and call my mom. I called my mom and she rushed to me immediately from work. My mom and I went home after talking to the police. I gave the officer every bit of detail I possibly could about what happened and about what he looked like. A few months later, the man was broadcasted on the news for over 5 separate kidnappings that all took place within 2 years. Apparently, he had literally been kidnapping boys and girls and keeping them locked in a basement. I'm not going to get into any detail with that. Just know it was extremely gruesome and perverted. I still think about this every day. Some days it consumes me, and I have nightmares about him most nights. He's in prison now though, and he will be for a very, very long time. I can't believe there are people out there that are that sick in the head. Growing up, I wasn't exactly a social butterfly, and even to this day, most people would probably consider me as pretty antisocial altogether. I was never sure why, but I have always been this way. Sometimes I get lonely, but I still prefer to be alone. When I was in college, I mostly just kept to myself. I had a few friends, but I wasn't super close with anyone there. One day, on my lunch break, after I got my food and found a table to sit down at so I could eat, I started feeling awkward. More awkward than I usually did at lunch. I was used to not sitting with anyone, but I had been eating at this table for like 5 minutes, and I was the only person at the table. My social anxiety crept up, so I was trying to finish my food quickly so I could go back to my dorm. I had this weird feeling, like someone was watching me. I turned around, and behind me was this guy staring directly at me. I gave him a confused look for a moment and turned back around. I finished my food and got up and threw my garbage away. I looked to my right and briefly scanned the cafeteria room. There he was. That same guy who was just behind me staring at me was staring at me again. He whispered something to the guy that was next to him, and they both looked at me with this very angry look on their face. What the heck, I thought to myself. I've never seen either of these 2 guys in my life, so I didn't know what their problem was. I thought maybe he had an issue with me, or maybe that they were just laughing at me. I have been a victim to bullies all my life, so bear with me if you think I'm being paranoid. Nothing else happened though, except for me being really confused. But I tried not to think of it much and went back to my dorm. Later that night, as I was lying awake in my bed trying to sleep, I couldn't sleep at all, and I had been laying there for what felt like hours. I decided to get up and move around for a second. My anxiety was getting the best of me, so I thought I should go sit down outside for a bit and get some fresh air. I found this bench that was towards the far east side of campus that I've never seen before. It was right under some trees, right before the entrance of what looked like to be a trail of some sort. After a few minutes of sitting there, I saw somebody in the distance, standing by the campus building under a yellow tinted light. It was pretty dark outside, so it was kind of eerie. They were just staring at me for like a solid minute or two straight without moving a muscle. Then they started running at me. I just sat there and didn't move. What do you want?" I yelled. As he started getting much closer to me, I sat up and started walking backwards a bit. "Hey man, take it easy. What's going on?" I soon realized it was the same guy who was staring at me earlier in the cafeteria. He grabbed me by the shirt, hit me in the face at least 4 or 5 times and broke my nose, took my phone and my wallet. He didn't say anything at all to me the entire time. He then took off, and after that I never seen him again. When the coast was clear and I got myself together, I went back to my dorm and told my roommate what just happened. I explained everything to him and he said we should call campus security so we can get the police involved. I told him I wanted to wait till the morning. I was trying my best to describe the guy that did this to me to him the best I could, but he had no idea who I was talking about. I talked to the dean the next day and told him everything. He told me he would look at the cameras and get back to me as soon as possible. So I left his office and went throughout my day waiting to hear from him. When he finally got back with me, he said that he saw me out on the cameras that night, but said there was no one else out there with me last night, and even accused me of lying. I was so confused. I tried to tell him I wasn't lying, but he kept cutting me off every time I spoke and threatened me with suspension for lying and wasting his time. He showed me the video and skimmed through it with me and showed me there was no one else out there that entire time I was outside. After a bit of bickering back and forth between the two of us, I started freaking out and ran back to my dorm. I gave my roommate the update of what happened later that night between me and the dean, and I'm pretty sure he thinks I'm insane, and I think everyone else thinks I am too. I literally had a black eye and a broken nose and everything, but no one believed me at all. I really think everyone all thought that I had did this to myself or something. But the weirdest thing about this whole situation that still gets me to this day is, like I said, I never saw that guy again, and nobody knew who I was talking about when I would describe him. Any friends that I had cut me off pretty much, as they thought I was attention seeking and weird or crazy. I've never been the same since that day. I don't know what the hell to make of this situation at all, and I don't think I ever will.